On World AIDS Day, a global push to heighten awareness of the potentially deadly virus. Zimbabwe's new president names a host of military figures and Mugabe-era politicians to his new cabinet. Should those who wanted a clean break from the past worry? And in our Music Maker segment, Cameroonian Afro-trap rapper Rifle X. Africa 54 starts right now.
Good evening and welcome. I'm Vincent McCory. This is Africa 54. It's World AIDS Day, an opportunity to show support for those living with HIV and to commemorate people who have died from AIDS-related illnesses. It's also a chance for nations to reflect on the progress they are making in the fight against the pandemic. South Africa has the biggest and most high-profile HIV epidemic in the world, with more than 7 million people living with the disease. More than 100,000 South Africans died from AIDS-related illnesses last year. The country has made huge progress since 2000, when it had just 90 people on treatment. Today, South Africa has the largest antiretroviral treatment program in the world. It costs $1.5 billion every year to bring life-saving treatment to 4 million people in that country. Despite giant strides elsewhere on the continent, the United Nations says Western and Central Africa are lagging behind in the fight against HIV/AIDS, with 2 out of 3 people in these regions not accessing treatment. Now, the United Nations hopes to wipe out AIDS by 2030. A new report by the world body shows there are remarkable progress in many parts of the world, with a significant rise in access to treatment. But can the UN really end AIDS in the next 13 years? VOA's Carol Pearson spoke to one of the world's leading scientists about whether that is possible.
Since the 1980s, when AIDS was a death sentence, Dr. Anthony Fauci has been working to end the pandemic. Now he says we have the tools to do it.
What I mean is that we have extraordinarily effective drugs, but recently those drugs have been shown over the past few years not only to save the lives of the people who take the drugs, but also to bring the level of virus in an infected person so low, below detectable level, that it makes it virtually impossible for that person to transmit the virus to someone else.
Drug therapy is now simplified, and many people in developing countries have access to the most recent drugs. We also have Truvada, a drug that prevents people who don't have HIV from getting it. UNAIDS reports that more than half of all people living with HIV are getting treated, but another 16 million people infected with the virus are not on medication. Many of them don't know they have HIV, so they pass it on to others.
In order to get a durable end to the epidemic, we would be greatly helped by an HIV vaccine.
A vaccine trial in Thailand proved to be 31% effective.
Can you take a deep breath?
Compare that to the measles vaccine, which is 99% effective. Can scientists develop an AIDS vaccine that is that good?
I don't think we're going to get there with an HIV vaccine, but even a vaccine that's 50, 55, at the most 60% effective, together with the implementation of the other advances we have, I believe we could turn around the trajectory of the epidemic and essentially end it as we know it.
Another vaccine trial is taking place in South Africa. The results won't be in for a while, and there's no way of telling if it will be good enough to help end AIDS. In the meantime, more people need to get tested and have access to health care. UNAIDS reports that in sub-Saharan Africa, new HIV infections have fallen by half since 2000. But in Eastern Europe and Central Asia, HIV infections have risen 60% over the past several years. Both Fauci and UNAIDS say ending the pandemic is up to the global community and how much effort and money it's willing to commit towards this goal. Carol Pearson, VOA News, Washington.
Now, barely a week into the job, and Zimbabwe's new president, Emmerson Mnangagwa, is already coming under fire. He's announced his new cabinet, packed with military figures and Mugabe-era politicians. It's a worrying sign for many. who had hoped the new president would make a clean break with the past. This report by David Doyle from Reuters news agency.
Zimbabwe's new president, Emmerson Mnangagwa, named his cabinet on Friday. A collection of military figures and Mugabe-era politicians that could disappoint Zimbabweans who'd been expecting a broad-based government and a break with the past. Patrick Chinamasa named as finance minister. That's one of several ministerial positions he's occupied under ousted President Robert Mugabe. His role will be in the spotlight as Mnangagwa is under pressure to deliver an economic turnaround. Zimbabwe in the grip of severe foreign currency shortages that have seen banks unable to give customers cash. Two military figures have also been given top jobs. Major General Sibusiso Moyo becomes foreign minister and Air Marshal Perence Shiri land minister.
As soon as we have accomplished our mission.
Moyo was the military spokesman who went on television to confirm that the military had taken power last month. And Shiri was in charge of the North Korean-trained 5th Brigade when, in 1983, it carried out the so-called Gukurundi massacres in Matabeleland. An estimated 20,000 people were killed in that crackdown on Mugabe's opponents. Mnangagwa himself was in charge of internal security at the time, but has denied any part in the atrocities. Nevertheless, there will be speculation over whether this new government represents the much hoped-for change or more of the same.
For some more perspectives on the new cabinet appointments in Zimbabwe, Dewa Mavinga, Southern Africa Director Human Rights, joins me live via Skype from Johannesburg. Dewa, welcome to Africa 54 once again.
Thank you, Vincent.
So, does this change or more of the same? What would you say?
Clearly, it is more of the same. Mnangagwa has shown that he is indeed apart from his cabinet is nothing new except yes, brought him as the army become which makes this cabinet worse than.
Well, we're having some technical problems there. Can't hear you clearly. I think we'll try perhaps come back to you. So just hang in there. Let's come back here to Washington just before we try him again. Now, here in Washington, D.C., the Voice of America held a panel discussion on Zimbabwe, the way forward. Here's a sampling of what some of the panelists said.
Let's see what he has done. Let's see what he's willing to do for the people and within his own party, because he has said a lot of good things on paper where he was willing to arrest criminals. But are those criminals in his faction too? Are they also, are they willing to lead by example as a leadership?
Misgovernance, definitely corruption, and everything else that goes with it needs to be weeded out. And you can only do that if you have an institution, if you have a government.
He's dealing with corruption, endemic corruption that has been in Zimbabwe for the past 17 years is going to be a thing of the past. Internally, as a political party, you have already seen the democratization of the ruling party, and that's going to continue. And that democratization is also going to expand to the whole country. And of course, we need national reconciliation, not just within the party itself, but across the nation. Those are some of the fundamental changes that you're going to see. But back to your last question, yes, this is change. President Mnangagwa is already showing that he's different from President Mugabe in terms of how he's executing his office as President of the Republic.
Well, now to watch the entire Voice of America panel discussion on Zimbabwe, the way forward, go to voazimbabwe.com. Now, way back in 2009, Zimbabwe abandoned its own currency amid extreme hyperinflation. Since then, the country has relied on foreign currency, in particular the US dollar and the South African rand. But for more than a year now, even that money has been scarce, making it hard for Zimbabweans to buy even the most basic necessities. Anita Powell is in Harare with this report.
Hope is abundant on the streets of Zimbabwe's capital now that Robert Mugabe is gone. Money, however, is not. For months, Zimbabwe's been struggling with a severe cash crisis. ATMs sit dead. People wait hours, even days, to draw the daily $50 maximum.
Yeah, since morning at 5 o'clock, that's when I arrived here.
Jonathan, another security guard, said this is his second day. He needs cash for school fees or his children will be suspended. So if he fails again today, he'll come back.
I'll talk to the superiors, and they ask for the time to go and to come to the bank.
Cash is available on the black market at sky-high rates. And Zimbabweans complain that their only legitimate money source is more expensive. Businesses often charge higher rates for customers paying with cards or with the popular EcoCash mobile money application.
If I want to get $100 cash out of my EcoCash account, I'm charged about $3.
President Emmerson Mnangagwa says bringing in cash is one of his top priorities. But some Zimbabweans say they can't afford to keep waiting.
I have ordered for my prosthetic legs in April. I have paid the amount, but the supplier is saying I cannot send you those prostheses because I cannot transact money from here to South Africa. Yeah. So I've been waiting ever since until now.
He says he can't wait to get that cash, and with it, his legs, so he can stand tall and celebrate the new Zimbabwe. Anita Powell, VOA News, Harare.
Well, we're trying to go back to Johannesburg, where Dewa Mavinga is standing by. Dewa, you sounded like you really are not excited about the new appointments to the Mnangagwa cabinet.
Not at all. What this has done is actually for Mnangagwa to show his true colors. That indeed he is cut from the same cloth with Mugabe. He has brought old faces to cabinet, and also I think of greater concern and worry is the appointment of two serving military generals, Air Marshal Perence Shiri and Major General Somoyo, to cabinet with very key posts. This shows that really there is a militarization of civilian affairs, and that Mnangagwa appears to be rewarding the military for staging the coup in November.
But Dewa, I mean, isn't there a possibility that this man could have a totally different vision for the country, and that there is a precedent all over the world where a person can be taken from the military and he becomes a civilian appointee to a position in the cabinet?
Well, it's possible, but there is need to observe, the constitutional requirements to separate the military from civilian affairs. So 1 week, this Major General is announcing a military coup, and the next week he has become a cabinet minister. That raises a lot of questions, especially as he remains a serving military general who has not resigned. And so it appears Mnangagwa wants to appease the generals. It appears there is no space for an inclusive government. He has not reached out to anyone in the opposition. And we are going to elections in 2018. And the concern there is that, well, if the opposition were to win, would the military generals accept an opposition win and accept democracy? It is unlikely, because they might actually, again, intervene in politics. So we have a tough road ahead, and Mnangagwa has shown that he is continuing with Mugabe's legacy effectively.
Well, we'll check with you again some other time just to see what's the progress in Zimbabwe from your own perspective. Sure. Thanks a lot, Dewa, for joining us today. That's Dewa Mavinga. He's the Southern Africa Director, Human Rights Watch, and he joined us via Skype from Johannesburg. Well, we want to know what you think about Africa 54 and the stories we covered during the conversation on Facebook. The address is Africa 54. We're also streaming our show live on Facebook, so check us out and share our show with your friends. And now find me on Twitter at VOA Vince McCory. Coming up, the world's best sailors battle it out in a race to the shores of Cape Town. Stay with us.
My name's Carla Babb, and I work the Pentagon beat. That access helps me to do better stories. Every day it's my responsibility to collect all of the defense news. It keeps our VOA viewers informed. I get to travel all across the globe. Anything that's defense related and how to protect and keep people safe, that's where I'll go. So it's never a dull moment at the Pentagon. My name is Carla Babb. This is my beat.
Well, today we bring you part 2 in our series on the Volvo Ocean Race. It pits some of the world's best sailors against each other in the world's toughest waters. We've got a play-by-play of the 7 teams as they fought to be the first to arrive in Cape Town, South Africa. VOA's Caroline Turner has more.
Epic conditions awaited the Volvo Ocean Race fleet as the 7 teams launched into the North Atlantic for leg 2 of the race, 7,000 nautical miles from Lisbon to Cape Town. It became a test of character as the fleet sailed west, blasting into 30-knot winds and 3-meter ocean swells. Life above and below decks was equally wet. With all teams racing the same design boat, sailors were tested on skill and daring to beat the competition.
Moist. And that's all I can do to describe the last 24 hours. Very moist. Fast and moist.
Leg 1 winners, Vestas hung on to third but continued to fend off the back 4 of the pack.
Pretty big waves and steep, so it was pretty challenging.
With the wind forecast to ease, the challenge was to head west to catch the trade winds in search of quick passage. After a week at sea, a 5-way battle developed for the lead, just 20 miles separating the top group. Teams were tested mentally and physically. The doldrums are a notorious area of the Atlantic Ocean where winds die completely and ships can be stranded for weeks. But the fleet made it through in record time with good wind.
Compared to the last race, the doldrums were easy.
Minimizing their mistakes and capitalizing on opportunities, Dongfeng moved up into the lead as the fleet passed over the equator.
I don't know if you noticed there was a bit of a bump when we were sailing along. We just ran over the equator.
After a fast and furious 10 days at sea, the fleet was more than halfway to Cape Town. For a week, Team Brunel and Vestas were locked in a race for third until the Dutch team finally broke the deadlock and set their sights on the leaders.
Got to keep pushing. We've got Map Frey in our sights, and that's our kind of next target. So we've honed in on them like a heat-seeking missile, and we're going to take them down next.
1 week from the finish, the fleet faced the critical decision of how to navigate the St. Helena High, a high-pressure system in the South Atlantic which blocks the direct route to Cape Town. The lead pack aimed their bows south and west, closest to the Brazilian coast, working around the center of the high in a bid to be first to get to the westerly winds and a fast ride to the finish.
There's been a little bit of a high-pressure ridge, and it's forcing us a little bit further to the west toward Brazil to get around it.
Well, the last 24 hours after Santa Helena High, we took the south as far south as possible and the quickest as possible.
With nearly a week of sailing to go in leg 2 and the breeze on, Map Frey led the charge as the fleet turned their bows toward Cape Town. Caroline Turner, VOA News.
Well, it's time now for a short break. Still to come on Africa 54. The sounds of Cameroonian Afro-trap rapper Reflex. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Africa 54, and here's what's trending. Now, camping isn't generally considered to be luxurious, but when it's done Beverly Hills style, it's a whole different story. Guests at the Beverly Hills Hotel can now sleep under the stars. The Beverly Wilshire is one of the most luxurious hotels in the world. It's offering a first-of-a-kind urban glamping, that's short for glamorous camping experience, on the rooftop attached to its iconic veranda suite. It has a massive 2,140 square foot terrace, which can only be accessed by the hotel's 1928 wrought iron and historic marble staircase. A night in this studio-style suite with private terrace and tent starts at $3,500 US. Well, next up, Japanese car maker Toyota unveiled a new humanoid robot that mirrors the movements of its remote operator in Tokyo. The company says THR-3 is designed to explore how a robot can help the elderly in a country whose population is aging faster than the rest of the world as the birth rate decreases. THR-3 is Toyota's third-generation humanoid robot and is operated by a user sitting on an exoskeleton who can see what the robot sees through a head-mounted display and control more than 30 different joints. The company says the technology advances their research into safe robotics by measuring the force exerted by and on THR-3 as it interacts with its environment while giving real-time force feedback to the controller. Well, in other robot news, U.S. researchers from Harvard University and the Massachusetts Institute of Technology have developed strong origami-inspired artificial muscles that can allow soft robots to lift objects 1,000 times their own weight using only air or water pressure. Now, the movement of the muscles are determined by the skeleton's shape and composition. No power source or human input is required. One muscle weighing just 2.6 grams was able to lift a 3-kilogram object. The researchers say this is the equivalent of a deck lifting a car. Future applications include minimally invasive surgery, deep-sea research, and space exploration. And that is what is trending today. Well, it's music maker, and today we introduce Cameroonian artist Reflex. Now, for more on the artist and his music, I'm joined by VOA RM show host Roger Montour. Roger, welcome back to Africa 54.
Well, it's always a pleasure being here.
Yeah, man. If you thought you were going to look cooler than me.
Well, I don't know if you knew that I was going to wear orange, so you wouldn't have orange tie. And where's your suit, by the way?
Hey,
you started
forget about suits now. We're doing music. Now, we have this young man from Cameroon. First, is he based in Cameroon or is he based here?
Well, he's based here now. Yeah. Mm-hmm. He moved here at age of 17. Yeah. He started doing, well, at age of 5, he was writing his own poems, you know. He was writing, and then at the age of 16, he decided to start rapping. Yeah. And that was back in Cameroon, then came here, continued his high school, and now he's making his name in the Cameroonian community.
You get the feel that his music is, you know, getting
definitely. It's definitely getting there because he has opened for so many Nigerian major artists like Flavor, like P Square. Big names. So every time they come, they'll call him and have him.
So we have this song, Temptation.
Exactly.
Is it the first one or just one of the many that he has produced?
Oh, this is one of the many.
One of the many. Yeah. Let's watch this.
Sure.
Let's watch this.
Yeah.
I tell him leave me, she say no way. Waiting I go do see go be. A boy she look like she carry 2 nyash. You know they say Naija know they carry last. Papa God, I say Papa God. Help your son, make it help your son. Like Joseph do, me I want to run. Better be like say this thing go fun. My God, my God.
I'm going insane, yeah. And now you be the one with the scatter my brain. Say now you be the one with the make out the curse. So I'm going insane, yeah, nah, nah. And now you be the one with the stats on my brain. And now you be the one with the method of so. Yeah, I say, this girl shoulda make all the craze. See the way she did wind up her waist. Oh, no, no, no. Yeah.
Now, I feel, I hear a blend here, because although the kid has lived here from when he was 14, went back to camp, he has kind of managed to blend the languages. The English there, he throws in a little bit of the West African thing there.
That is so good. And actually, I had him in one of my shows here at VOA, and I asked him the question, actually. Yeah. And he said, well, Roger, look, I'm Anglophone. As you know, in Cameroon, they have Francophone and Anglophone. Yeah. I'm from the Anglophone side. But also, I, pretty much copy or follow the steps of this Nigerian superstar artist. So you can definitely feel that.
Is there kind of like a really strong influence of the Nigerian kind of artists across the continent, or in mostly West Africa?
No, you're right, across the continent, because he is from the Central Africa. So he's not even from the Nigerians, but he's from the Central Africa. So you can tell that impact. Well, it makes it easier for them because they also speak English, or pidgin English.
I know we're going to talk a lot about this, but I want our viewers to, watch more.
Right. We'd love to have him come see you, say hi to you one day.
Yeah, sure. Great. So, Roger, thank you very much.
Thank you so much for having me. Appreciate it.
Thank you for helping us with this fantastic music segment again this time. So, for more of Roger Munto himself, if you just want to kind of just find out more about himself and his radio show, visit Facebook and type in the keywords RM Show VOA, and you can see what time his program can be heard in your area and get more information about some of his featured artists. Well, that's our show for today. We want to leave you now with more of Temptation by Reflex. Good night.
I tell him leave me, she say no way. Waiting I go do see go be. A boy she look like she carry two nyash. You know they say now you know they carry last. Papa God, I say Papa God. Help your son, make it help your son. Like Joseph do, me I want to run. Better be like say this thing go fun. My God, my God.
I'm going insane, yeah. And now you be the one with the scars on my brain. So now you be the one with the make out of curse. So I'm going insane, yeah, nah, nah. And now you be the one with the scars on my brain. So now you be the one with the make out of curse. So yeah, I say, this girl shoulda make all the craze. See the way she did wind up her waist. Oh, no, no, no. Yeah. I say, this girl shoulda make all the craze. You see the way she did wind up her waist. Oh,
now I'm drawn in at the torture. I tell her this thing ain't no proper. I'm falling and this not temptation. Why you do me implication? She tell me say boy you no matter. I give it to you now is the matter. No you might not get limitation. Her body don't they call limitation.
Welcome to English in a Minute. A plate is a dish that you put your food on.
Have a lot on your plate.
Hey Anna, I'm having a party this weekend. You should come.
I wish I could, but my weekend is really busy. I'm baking a wedding cake, writing my article, teaching 2 classes, and oh, my parents are visiting.
Wow, you have a lot